So we're going to be talking about NFTs in 2022 because that's the year that's coming up. And there's a bunch of different kinds of projects that are out there. Not all of them are the same, right? Different kinds of projects are going to require different, work and sometimes more or less manpower, right? And that's some of the things that we're going to kind of touch on in this PowerPoint. Then we're going to go on a little adventure on the internet and we'll look at some places, some potential options for you to make your NFTs. So I'm going to move this over. So what is an NFT? And, when you look at definitions in the dictionary, they're going to focus on the fact that, an NFT is some sort of asset on the blockchain, or they might talk about some sort of like record. But that's not actually the most important thing, in my professional opinion. The most important thing is scarcity. And we're going to talk a lot about that and how that's really disrupting a lot of industries, is scarcity. Now, this chart might look a little intimidating to you. It might bring back economics class from university or some sort of a math class. You actually don't need to know any math to understand this chart. Basically, where we see two lines here, and the one on the right hand side is the original line, right? It's just supply and demand. And so before, there was a much greater supply of these files and things, and now the supply is being limited by NFTs, and that will inherently raise the price. How much is not the point of this the point of this graph. The point is that they do have value, because prior to this, something like a JPEG or music or a bunch of other things, and we'll see in a second, had no monetary value before. They were completely free and you could consume them without any limitations, right? You could look at the Mona Lisa as many times as you want, or you could listen to a song on the internet as many times as you want. And so it was free. But by limiting ownership, that is what adds scarcity. And so we're going to look at a bunch of different use cases for NFTs, but the real thing to take home is that the price of the NFTs is above zero, right, for something like a JPEG, because ownership is limited and there's limited editions of ownership. Very often, these NFTs are only one of one. They're completely unique, right? And so only one person can own it. So very broadly speaking, this PowerPoint is actually missing one major potential use case that's already been kind of developed, and that's fashion. And we'll look at that in a second. But in general, we're going to take a look at some art, these profile picture clubs, music, tickets, virtual property, and video games. Like I said, fashion is another major industry that has already started to embrace NFTs. And when I made this PowerPoint, it escaped me, but that should definitely be in there. And so the first industry to really embrace blockchain was the art industry. And that's because there was some really good, matchmaking going on here. Because the majority of people involved in art are benefiting from it. There is one group of people who aren't benefiting too much. That's the art curators, people who match the artists with buyers, right? Potential collectors. They're not really winning too much from this, but there is still a place for curators. But generally speaking, the artists and the collectors, which are the majority of people involved in art, have benefited tremendously from NFTs, because for the artist, you don't need to pay a curator to get your art in touch with people. And you're also accessing a worldwide marketplace. But collectors are benefiting the most because they don't need to worry about authenticity because of blockchain, right? If you mint an NFT, which is what we call making an NFT, we say you mint an NFT. If you mint an NFT, then it shows who minted it, right? So it's impossible, absolutely impossible to fake an NFT. It's possible to fake. And the other thing being that you don't need to worry about the physical storage, which is, if you view art as an investment, very real risk factor. And there are things like wallets, which I highly, highly recommend that you do your own research and look into, that are important. And, you can understand as being something similar to storage, but even then, that is much easier than having to physically store and transport art. Okay, so out of the fine art community emerged these profile picture clubs, and we can see them on either side here. I didn't think about this little bar with people's faces when I made the PowerPoint here. I'm sorry about that for people in the recording, but we're looking at actually two of the major projects out there, CryptoPunks and Bored Apes. And so on the surface, they're just a simple JPEG. They're just, very simple art. There is very little artistic value, but that's not where the real value is. The real value is that you're joining a community of people who are basically hyping these things up. And so I'm pretty sure like Justin Bieber or something had a CryptoPunk as his profile picture on social media for a while, and he actually owned it, and so people want to be part of these clubs. They get you membership into a club. They're not primarily about the art. There are NFTs out there which are primarily about the art, but it's not these. These are another beast entirely. There's like groups of people with a lot of money involved. Like these NFTs have sold for millions of dollars. In the previous slide, we saw this here is the most expensive NFT ever sold, Every Days, which sold for $69 million. But, like CryptoPunks NFTs sell for millions. Bored Apes sell for hundreds of thousands. And so that's what you're really getting in. You're buying into this community that's going to basically hype up this group. And there tends to be a lot more to it, right? Like Frogland, we'll actually touch on them again later, but like they start off raising capital, making these sorts of profile picture clubs to make a video game, right? But the NFTs that they're selling right now are just these profile pictures, but their plan is to make a video game. Same thing with Sherlock, right? You're buying club membership in Sherlock, but their plan is to make a Metaverse project. So there's lots of other things going on. And you have to really do your research because you don't know if they're just BSing you, right? They could say, oh yeah, we've got such and such a plan, and they have a beautiful roadmap, and they spent a lot of money on a PDF to make their project look really good, but you got to really do your research, okay, when you're thinking about making an investment. So next is music, and I would say that music has relatively under leveraged NFTs, and unlike like the art scene, there is no dominant platforms to sell NFT music. There's multiple, but none of them are the clear, like, dominant platform. So the greatest success, to my knowledge, so far has been Tory Lanez, who sold over $1 million worth of NFTs. He actually sold 1 million NFTs at $1 each within a minute or 2 minutes of actually putting it up for sale. And here we have his tweet talking about that. So when we talk about scarcity, that's a really big deal for the music industry, because you got to think about it this way. Before, if you wanted to listen to music, you had to physically own a record or a CD or whatever. So it wasn't easy to listen to music. Now, anybody can listen to any song they want online, however many times they want, and never pay for it. So by releasing an album, for example, as an NFT at a relatively affordable price point, something similar to what you might see on, iTunes or something like that, $1 to $2 or $1 to $3, you can actually create a sort of collective nature to the album, and your fans will also benefit from the resales in the future, right? So this is the direction that we're moving, and I think music is going to be changed in a really big way. We just haven't seen the right platform for it yet, and we're going to see more and more as we talk today that there's still a lot of unknowns because it's so new. And we even this PowerPoint has not covered all the potential use cases. We're just going with some of the more established use cases. Tickets are also possible. So like the NFL has released NFT versions of tickets for 21 season games this year. And Marvel released a Spider-Man NFT prior to the most recent Spider-Man movie launch. I think Spider-Man No Way Back. So you were able to get that in, I think it was October or November, before the movie came out. But that's also possible. And then we've got virtual land. People have been talking about this a fair bit because of the metaverse. And this really goes together with the metaverse. It's a feature of metaverse projects. And Decentraland is the flagship of all the metaverses. One thing to really keep in mind when we talk about metaverses is that there's really no blockchain that provides a really good metaverse experience yet. And here's what I mean. Everything that you do in a blockchain environment, like we work for UTU, and so we think about it from a social media perspective. Whenever somebody likes something or comments or anything like that, there's a transaction fee associated with that. So that's a transaction on blockchain. And the fastest blockchain can only process 5,000 transactions per second. And that's Solana. Our company uses EOS, which is 4,000 transactions per second. And we still sometimes have crashes. Decentraland uses Ethereum, which is even slower. Ethereum has only 25 transactions per second. That's 2 orders of magnitude lower than what we use. And they're running a video game on it, right? Whenever somebody presses W to go forward, right, to walk forward, or right clicks or anything like that, those are all transactions. And that's what slows it down. So we still don't know who will dominate the metaverse. It will definitely be made up of multiple companies, but there's a huge speed problem. Then there's also video games. And the greatest example of that is Axie Infinity. Actually, by market cap, Axie Infinity has the largest presence of any NFT project. And they're actually a video game. And so the point of the game is that you buy Axies. And as long as you have 2 Axies, then they can breed. And they can actually inherit different traits. And some traits are rarer than others. So you want to build an Axie or breed Axies with rarer traits, more sought after traits. And then they use them for battles and stuff like that. But it's a very big part of the future of play to earn video games. And there's other play to earn video games. You can see them on the bottom there, such as Illuvium, Chumby, and Star Atlas. These have not yet come out yet. So we don't know what they're like. We don't have any idea of what their economies are in reality, right? But they're in the works, and they're definitely going to be leveraging NFTs as part of it. And it's a big part of the metaverse as well, being able to, the concept of the metaverse is that you can move objects from one video game, for example, into another video game. And you have to do that using an NFT. Because that way it's one file that can be used in multiple places. And so that's really a huge part of the future of video games will be NFTs. Now, some other use cases, which we haven't talked about, fashion is not on this list, and it actually shouldn't, it's not in future use cases. Fashion already exists, and Bodo can actually talk about a bit about his NFT jacket that he made in just a second. But we may also see other use cases that might not necessarily be to do with business. We could see something such as actual, like physical real estate being tracked using NFTs. We could see people eventually earning certificates which take the form of NFTs or even ID. Like I said, we're still at such an early phase that the definition of these things is constantly changing. So that's all I had prepared in the PowerPoint. We've still got a decent amount of time, and I would definitely like to actually share. So somebody says here, physical real estate has already been sold on blockchain. But what I mean is that it would all be formally sold on like a central registry for a city or a province or something like that. That hasn't really been institutionalized. Yeah, exactly. That hasn't happened yet, but the possibility is there. Now, in just a second, I would like to show you what some of the major platforms are. So I want to get out of this. Hold on a sec. Let's see if it will work now. There we go. So the largest NFT selling, like the largest NFT trading platform has been OpenSea by far. And if we just take a look here, like it has the largest amount of transactions, largest like volume in terms of dollar value. But if we actually look at some NFTs, they have also, split up into different categories. And if we just take a look maybe in art, we can see what's going on, like here's some trending collections. And if you want to be minting on OpenSea, you'll notice everything is priced in Ethereum. You see that? So, Ethereum is kind of expensive. Every time that you do a transaction, you have to pay money. So that means that when you buy, you need to pay a fee. When you mint an NFT, you need to pay a fee. When you send NFTs to somebody else, you need to pay a fee. When you buy Ethereum, you need to pay a fee. There's fees everywhere, literally everywhere. And they also actually, in an update in the fall, made a decision to decrease the supply of Ethereum slowly over time. So it's a depreciating asset, which means that the value of Ethereum is only going to keep going up. And the cost in terms of dollars of doing all these transactions is also going to be going up. So, a lot of people are priced out of, participation in the NFT game by the fact that the largest platforms so far are all based on Ethereum. Now, there is other platforms such as Calumet, which use another cryptocurrency called Tezos. That's relatively cheap, but they all have fees of some sort. Some are a couple dollars, some are a couple $100. But this is another option for you. You could be working with Calumet. It looks like they're still in beta, so things are taking a while. And my computer is not a weak computer, right? These things take a while because of blockchain, right? Blockchain is slower than the normal internet. So, I mean, you see here, you see much different price tags, right? Here you see $33, $63. When we were on OpenSea, we were looking at $49,000, right? So there's orders of magnitude of difference there, right? So it's like the real art world, the physical art world. Not to say that this isn't real, but the physical art world, location is a big deal, right? If you're selling your art on the street, you're not going to get as much as you would in the gallery 2 feet away, right? Likewise, you're going to get different prices on different sites. The thing is that like with art in the major auction houses like Christie's in history have never sold for less than their previous sale. But you don't always have a buyer. That's the catch. You'll never lose money on your art, but you won't necessarily always be able to sell it. So that's the catch with NFTs in general, is that, you know, generally speaking, the value of your NFTs will only go up, but the problem is, will you be able to find somebody to buy them? And that's, you know, that's quite that's another subject. I think that could be like ways, like selling NFTs itself could be another talk. Absolutely. And then I would be remiss if I did not also mention UTU in this, because while UTU is not primarily about NFTs, we do provide NFTs on our platform, and you can actually mint all of your NFTs for free. There are very, very low fees. In fact, the only fee that we have is the withdrawal fee. So when you take money off of the app, we do that withdrawal using something called USDT, which is not controlled by our company. It's another cryptocurrency. And so when you make your withdrawal, you're taking money off the app. We have to buy some USDT to send it to your wallet. And that's the only expense. Anything else on the app, whether that's buying NFTs, selling NFTs, minting NFTs, the whole shabam, none of that has any gas fees. That's what these fees are called. They're called gas fees. There are no gas fees for the users. The company pays the gas fees for the users because that's possible due to the blockchain that we use. So there is a drawback, right? Which is that we are on EOS, and the majority of the money involved in crypto right now, or at least in NFT trading, is in Ethereum. So being very upfront with you, if your goal is to get rich quick by selling NFTs, UTU is not the place. But if you're trying to explore a lot more different options, very different options, because we're not just a marketplace for NFTs. We have DAOs, we have social tokens. There's a lot of things, a lot of applications of blockchain which have not yet gone mainstream, which you can find on our app. But it's an option for you. And we're really doing our best to try and present this in an objective way. And we actually didn't even mention it first, right? We went through other places first, and we talked about a lot of options. And if your only goal is to just sell some NFTs and make a quick profit and go, then maybe you'd be better served going to OpenSea or Calumet, right? Or some other options. You can do more research and you can check out other places, but those are two, I think, great options.